Thank you very, very much. And thank you, Assemblyman, for a much too generous introduction. I think I really should be applauding all of you. There is not a more important organization around considering what you are trying to do for each other, for our state, and for our world. Tom Friedman has taught us that the world is flat, meaning all parts of the world are interdependent on one another. What happens in small corners of the world will influence in our lives. We live in one of the most diverse states in this country. We're in a country now that, unlike other countries, isn't largely dominated by one ethnic group, but so many groups. And our future is not based on those, on individual groups. It's dependent on what we believe and our beliefs together and how we weave together a life that is important to one another. We're like a tapestry. You know, each of us may be a very individually, wonderfully colored thread, but you don't see the beauty of the whole until we all weave those threads together and form the kind of tapestry this country can be and should be if the kind of ideals that you are all talking about this evening come to be. I thought I'd just tell you one brief story, because it came to mind, actually. I hadn't thought of it for years when I was driving here tonight. Happened when I was governor. There was in Monmouth County, it was a very cold winter's evening, and a young man was coming home from school, and he passed a pond, and one of his other students who had been ahead of him had tried to cross the pond, but it wasn't quite cold enough, and the ice broke. And that young man went into the water, and he saw this young man struggling in the water. He didn't think 1 second, but he raced across the field, went into the pond. The ice cracked under him too, and they were both of them struggling in the water, but he was able to hold up this first young man's head above the water. And eventually rescuers were able to come around, and they dragged them and they saved them both. And the most remarkable thing about the story to me is when they were on shore and making sure they were both all right, he looked around, and the young man that he had saved was his brother, his younger brother. You see, he hadn't known that when he dived into the water, broke that ice, risked his own life. He hadn't had any idea. All he knew was a fellow human being in trouble. And in fact, he'd saved his brother. Now, I tell you that story because that is honestly, in this world we live in, the attitude we all have to have. We all have to be brothers. We all have to be sisters. We have to think of each other in those terms, not as members of a single family, working together to make this state, community, and this world a much, much better place. That's what you're doing tonight. You could have been any number of places tonight. You came here to celebrate the ideas of this wonderful organization. I'm honored to be honored with this group of people. It's a remarkably distinguished group of people, and I'm honored to be part of it tonight. I thank you for that very, very sincerely. You are a wonderful group. These young people are our future, and I congratulate them again. And for everything you're doing and everything you're going to do, I'll end with the words of one of my favorite poets, Pablo Neruda, great Chilean poet. I come to pound on your heart with love. Thank you very much.